Hi, and welcome back to the Awaken Your Wise Woman podcast. I'm your host, Biz Cush, and I am very excited about our upcoming guest, Lauren Sapala. But before we get started on the interview, I just wanted to share that the membership for highly sensitive women, the Circle of Sacred Sensitivity, is now open for enrollment. It's an affordable $19 a month. You get access to recordings of meditations, you get access to videos of energetic practices, and a space to share and get support and be supported. It is a place where you can come and hold, and your sensitivities will be held with kindness, compassion, and understanding. So I hope you'll join us. You can find out more on my website, elizabethcush.com. That is Cush spelled with a C. You can also go to awakenyourwisewoman.com. That will bring you to the website. So I hope you'll join us there. The registration link is there under the membership tab. So I hope you will check it out. I hope you will consider joining because I would love to have you there. And without further ado, we have Lauren Sapala, who is a writer, a highly sensitive woman. She's a coach and she's a teacher. So we're going to talk about writing as a modality to support your sensitivities, but also some of the challenges that come along with that. So it's a pretty great conversation, and let's jump into it. Hi, Lauren, and welcome to the Awaken Your Wise Woman podcast.
Hello, hello. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. For listeners who are not familiar with you, could you share a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I do a lot of different things, but mainly I'm an author and a teacher, and sometimes I call myself a creative guide, sometimes a
Mm,
mentor. I used to do coaching quite a bit. I don't coach anymore, but I
okay.
teach quite a bit. I teach a new class probably every week.
Wow. Wow. And what are you teaching when you are teaching?
Well, sometimes I teach on writing, sometimes creativity, sometimes intuition. I specialize in working with intuitive personality types.
Mm,
Mainly
nice.
introverts, but I don't exclude the extroverts either.
There you go. And I think you identify yourself as a highly sensitive person. Is that correct?
Yes, sometimes I just taught a class last night and I said sometimes we say empaths, sometimes we say highly sensitive, sometimes we say intuitive. Sometimes there's an
Yes.
overlap between all of it, whatever you
Mm,
want to roll with. But yeah,
yeah.
intuitive, sensitive.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just being sensitive can make you empathetic and intuitive all if you're tuning into those sensitivities, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so for you, was there a time in your life that I've talked to a lot of highly sensitive women this season on the podcast, and some really found growing up difficult because, we were told you're too sensitive or you're too much. You need not to feel so much. Was that ever your experience? Have you ever found being a sensitive empath a challenge?
Oh yes. I mean, when I was young, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, my 30s, now I'm in my 40s, it's still a challenge, even knowing what I know today. What I teach
Okay.
in my classes is that sensitive people were born with naturally thin boundaries.
Mm,
So we tend to grow up with problems with boundaries. And when we try to address those problems, we're told you need to get better boundaries. You need to stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself. It's really hard for us
yeah.
because boundaries, a lot of the time, it's not something we can control. We tend to absorb the energy around us, the emotions of other people. We notice the little things. We're very observant. We
Yeah.
pick up on changes in tone of voice, facial expression, the mood in the room, the emotional temperature. And
Mm,
even though we tend to be the glue that holds together the office or the family or the social group, our gifts are not often appreciated because
mm,
we do have such quiet gifts and we're very good at being gentle and unobtrusive. So it's a hard row to hoe, honestly. If you are a highly sensitive person,
Yeah.
it is. It's very challenging and it's hard to explain what's going on with you to other people, much less yourself.
Yeah. Well, interesting. It's funny. I really hadn't thought about how, like, that boundaries are hard for us because we just naturally are taking in, like, we can't stop that process of picking up on others' emotions. I mean, I guess we can protect ourselves in certain ways, but we're going to be taking in the environmental stimulus without, like, it's not just like, oh, today I'm not going to do that.
Well, and our entire operating system is different. When you have thin boundaries, one feeling glides into another.
Mm,
Sometimes you might have trouble differentiating between your thoughts and your feelings.
yeah.
People who have thin boundaries, their past might feel like it's very much part of their present.
Oh,
With
totally.
people who are not so sensitive, things are much more straightforward. They're
Hmm.
not absorbing all of these things. They have one feeling, I'm sad, and then it's over, and then they move on. Their past is the past. And so we live in a society and a culture that really encourages us, I don't want to say pushes us, but sometimes it does, to do things in a linear way, in a
Yeah.
straightforward way, with thick dividing lines around things. And highly sensitive people don't operate that way. That
Yeah.
doesn't work for us. We're not usually linear. We're not usually straightforward. We don't have a
Hmm.
lot of thick barriers between things. We don't naturally operate that way. And then
Yeah.
when we try to operate the way we operate, we're told, what are you doing? That's weird. You're wrong. You need to get stronger, toughen up.
Yeah.
And we can't do those things. We cannot toughen up. It's not part of our makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely found that for myself, being more aware of my needs has helped me take better care of myself when I do get my feelings hurt or I am absorbing things that feel overwhelming, or avoiding situations where I know I'm going to be overwhelmed. But yeah, it doesn't stop. It's just I've learned how to manage how much I'm feeling out in the world. Yeah.
Overwhelm is huge. For sensitive
Oh,
people, overwhelm is maybe the biggest thing because again we live in a society that says you should be fine working 5 days a week 8 or 9 hours a day and then you should want to socialize when you're done
yeah.
with the workday and you should want to socialize on the weekends. You should want to be busy all the time and be surrounded by people, and if you
Mm,
don't, well, what's wrong? Are you depressed? Are you isolating? Are you antisocial? And for highly
yes.
sensitive people, working 5 days a week, 8 or 9 hours a day is too much. We need
Oh,
rest breaks. We need longer rest breaks than others. We
yep.
need a lot of downtime.
A
And
lot
the
of sleep.
socializing on top of it's just way, way too much.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm a therapist and also a highly sensitive guide for women, but um, I find that in the Facebook groups for specifically for highly sensitive therapists, often the challenge you're hearing or that you're seeing, reading, as people are posting is like, I can't work a 40-hour work week, where some sort of larger corporate entities that provide mental health expect that, seeing 40 clients a week, which I can't even imagine, like, can't even imagine. And just knowing how much empathy and caring and overwhelm can happen for us, yeah, it's a quandary. It's hard for people that are out there doing this work that's so important, and yet so many of us are burning out.
Mhm. It's
Yeah.
that thin boundary thing again. I think we tend to think we have lower energy levels than
Yeah.
other people, and we shame ourselves for that. Why can't I have more energy? Why can't I do it all?
Yeah.
But what's happening is our energy is used up faster
Yeah.
because any person we're talking with, any situation we're in, we are processing more deeply, we are taking in more stimulus. And
Yeah.
so our energy is used up just more quickly. We have the same amount of energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
It's
used
just
up more
we,
quickly. And then we feel low energy and exhausted.
yeah, a need to. to recharge, reset. Yeah. Yeah, I find a lot of I spend a lot of time on my own. My husband works hard, and I have a dog, and my kids are all grown, and I'm perfectly happy in between sessions, just like hanging out with my dog and recharging that way. Yeah. So I wonder. I know you shared in the little blurb I asked you to fill out before our interview that you found that writing or being an author was difficult as a highly sensitive person. And I'm curious, like, what challenges specifically to writing does high sensitivity, how does that make it harder or hard for
Mm.
you?
Well, I will say in the writing community in the modern day, there is a certain way you're supposed to do things, and that involves a lot of sharing. That usually
Oh,
involves a lot of sharing when you're even in the first draft. So
mm,
you write a chapter and then you take it to your critique group and they critique it. And then you decide based on feedback which way you're supposed to go, what direction you're supposed to go with the storyline or your thesis or whatever it is. That's sort of the way it's done. And then when you are finished with your manuscript, then you get an editor and the editor critiques it. And then you query, so you're constantly seeking feedback, you're constantly taking in criticism. For
mm,
highly sensitive people, this really doesn't work. Highly sensitive writers tend to be intuitive. And so
yeah.
other people giving us feedback when we're in the middle of the process is actually very unhelpful because we're
Mm.
still figuring out where we want to go.
Oh,
Intuitive people
interesting.
tend to need to be very private and very personal about any creative project, not just writing, but
Interesting.
painting or building something, coming up with conceptualizing any kind of project. We need to be
Yeah.
on our own and we need to be very private and protected so that we feel this freedom around our creativity. It can unfold in any way it needs to, and we can follow our intuitive nudges.
Mm.
If we are highly sensitive and we have thin boundaries, we can really easily lose our compass when other people are making suggestions, even if they're well intentioned. If someone says, well, I think you should do it this way, or I think, another person says, I think you should do it this way, that can be very confusing to us and we can really lose the thread. And
Mm.
then it can interrupt our whole process. So I really urge intuitive people, don't show anyone your work
Hmm.
until you are very far along in the process. The first draft should be completely finished. Don't talk to anybody while you are in the middle of the first draft. Don't share pieces, don't seek feedback. You stay in your own little bubble and you protect that work. And then you have that first draft, and even I would say do a round or two of revisions without bringing anyone else in. And then
Interesting.
you're probably ready to share. Once you've been able to emotionally detach from the work, we tend to be very emotional about our
Yeah.
creative work. It
Yeah.
means a lot to us. It's not just something we're writing for money or to achieve something. It's emotionally meaningful to us. It's a relationship. And so I always say, wait until you've been able to emotionally detach, and then you
Mm.
can bring in outside people.
Yeah. That makes so much sense to me. I feel like well, it's probably true for anything, but from thinking about it from my perspective, just like in particular, writing fiction, where you're really developing the characters, you're feeling what they're feeling, and you're creating them in a way to truly represent all they're feeling. Like I would imagine it would be so hard to share that for one, initially as you're developing those characters, but two, yeah, to have anybody tell you, oh no, you should do it this way would be disruptive.
And
Yeah.
also with memoir, when people are writing memoir
Oh,
or
yeah.
personal
Mm,
essay, a
yeah.
lot of times for intuitive people, we're using it as a healing tool.
Oh,
And
true.
so we're really excavating old layers, old events, and a lot of stuff can come up. And I say for intuitive people, when you're writing memoir, you may
Mm,
experience physical symptoms.
I
You
bet.
might, if you've had a skin condition in the past, it might flare up. If you've had
Mm,
stomach issues, that might emerge. Your body may react
mm,
in different ways because you're processing old trauma, old unconscious material from the past. It's really emerging into the conscious now. And that's hard. And to bring someone else in who's not part of it and who might start criticizing, well, I thought this chapter was confusing. I don't think you should write so much about the time you were 5 years old. That's not
Right.
helpful. The healing
Right.
journey has to come first.
Mm, that's really beautiful, actually, because yeah, so much healing can come from writing, but if someone's telling you that's not the story you should be telling, I would imagine that could be very wounding too. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and a lot of times with memoir, you don't end up including everything, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But you
Sure.
don't know that in the first draft.
Yeah.
And you need to write to get it out of you. Even if it doesn't go into the final draft, a lot of it needs to be written for you to speak your own truth on the page. That's a very important part of the process. I
Mm,
think sometimes editors forget that. Agents definitely do. Critique groups, those aren't the people, and that's not the place to share that very raw material that's coming out of you when you're really doing that kind of healing work through memoir.
yeah. 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 I feel that too. Yeah. It would be, yeah, I can remember writing a piece for another website about uh, my history of trauma and healing. And I can remember the editor being very free with their own words, like not mine, when editing. And I can remember thinking, like, well, wait, is this even still my story if they're using words that I wouldn't use in this context, But yeah, I feel that deeply. Yeah. And so for you, when you're teaching intuitives in writing classes, what's helpful for them in terms of the process? I mean, what I'm hearing you saying is just, allow your thoughts and ideas to flow before you show them, but also, um, I'm curious, like, are there tools they can use to help themselves if stuff is coming up? Are there things that you suggest or help them with, if they are struggling?
Well, there's so much. I mean, the basic strategy I teach is that most writing methods are achievement oriented. They really hold a lot of masculine energy. It's about word count, it's about goals. You see this all the time online. Write your book in 90 days, get your book done in six
Mm,
months. And you're supposed to be driving toward a result. And everything's
yeah.
very action oriented. And I say, take your focus off the achievement oriented stuff and pivot so that you are focusing on the relationship. You're focusing on your relationship with your writing, your relationship with the story, your relationship with the characters, your relationship with your own memories. And
Mm,
instead of word count, we focus on time spent. So maybe your goal is that I'm going to spend 2 hours a week on my writing. I'm going to spend an hour on Monday and an hour on Thursday. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be with the writing. And I'm not going to force it. And I'm not going to keep my eye on how many words I'm writing. If I write 50 words, great. If I write 500 words, great. But how did I feel? How did I
mm,
feel during that hour? Did I feel safe? Did I feel curious? Did I feel engaged? Was I surprised by what came out of me? Did I feel in flow? How did the energy feel? Was the energy moving?
yeah.
That's what we really focus on instead of, well, how much did I get done? Or how much can I expect to get done next week? And what is this all going to add up to? And is anyone going to like this? Is this going to make money?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is, if you look at the energy, it's like, well, I feel very judged and I feel maybe very exposed. I don't feel safe. I feel like I have to prove myself or I have to have something to show for it. That energy doesn't feel good. I definitely don't feel in flow. So I
Mm,
really encourage writers using an intuitive process to always be looking at the energy. If you're a thin boundary person, you're a sensitive person, you know how to feel into the energy. It can be hard. You might be uncertain. You might be confused, not knowing where you're going. That's okay, as long as you feel like things are moving. You feel like you're still engaged. You're curious instead of feeling like you're scared or you're frozen or you're numb or you're stuck.
or
You want to
avoidant.
shift
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's different for every person.
Yeah.
Every person has a different situation. They're writing something different. But that's
Hmm.
basically the gist of how I try to move people from driving towards achieving a result to being in relationship and tuning into how you feel.
Mm, gosh. Sounds so much like therapy. You know, like if you can be open and curious and yeah, be with yourself through the feelings or whatever it is, like it can shift so much internally versus critical or yeah, measuring progress or yeah, trying to I want to get there to healing versus I need this process to unfold. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the use of curiosity in just our own stories too, or our own feelings versus like judging ourselves for the feeling or judging ourselves for are we making progress or not. Just to be like, that's interesting. Okay, I got 10 words done today, but I was in flow for those 10 words or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I always do meditations during my silent writing program. I have a silent program. We meet 3 weeks, 3 times a week over Zoom. We write
Mm.
silently together for an hour. And I open it with a meditation. And one of the meditations I use that people say is, I'm willing to be surprised. I'm willing to be
Um,
surprised during this hour. And every time I say it, I can feel it from the group. I'm like, oh, I feel a little anxiety ripple because it's scary to say I'm willing to be surprised, especially if you have trauma,
yes.
especially if you have a past history. If you've had abuse in your past, sometimes being surprised, you got
Yeah.
hurt and you got hurt very badly. So it is very healing to work with your own creativity and to experiment with willing to be surprised by the words
Mm.
that come out of you or the painting that you make, and to see that this can be something safe. This can
Yeah.
be actually something stable and secure, my surprise in my own creative process.
Mm. Yeah. That's really nice. I like that. Um, And so, share a little bit about that I find that so intriguing having a silent writing group, just because, yeah, it's like, well, we're in this together, but I don't have to be sharing, I don't have to be saying anything, but the energy is here. That's creative. Yeah, that's cool.
The silent writing sessions, I started because I used to do a silent writing program years ago in San Francisco, like 20 years ago. And it was in
Okay.
person, and I couldn't write at that time. I was paralyzed with fear. But I would
Mm,
go once a week and sit with this group, and we would write together for 1 hour. And I
mm,
realized later I had so much trauma and I was so frozen. I had trauma around self expression, which a lot of intuitive writers do. And so I was frozen sharing on the page, and I couldn't ground myself. On my own, I could not ground myself. I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the resilience to do that. But
yeah.
with a group of people who were grounding, I could just sort of connect to their energy. And people who are very sensitive and have thin boundaries, this is one of the advantages. If you're in a good group, if you're in a
Oh,
group where people are safe and wonderful and lovely, you can really connect to that energy easily. And that's what we do
totally.
in the silent writing sessions over Zoom I hold now, is that there's a space, there's a circle. And
Yeah.
so people who feel very afraid, very unsure, very ungrounded can come in, just kind of plug into the group, ground themselves, and start to do their writing work from there. And I get
Mm,
new people all the time who are like, this is the weirdest thing. I didn't think it was going to work. I'm just sitting there with my camera off, even, because I tell people you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want. There's no
right.
participation. They said, but I
Yeah.
can feel it. I feel different in the sessions. And I say, yeah, that's the power of a group. And it's all really sensitive, intuitive, lovely people who are open and being vulnerable and making it a safe space. And you can feel it. And if you have thin boundaries, you can really feel it.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm in a mentorship coaching program with um yeah, a really intuitive healer and it's just the energy they bring attracts the energy of the people who come and it just I was I personally I often can feel in group like is this really my space, right? Like if it's just a mixed group of random people, but these groups have been so great because it does just feel like all right, I get this whole energy is really flowing because the person holding the space knows how to do that and is grounded enough to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet it's really great. So if you were to describe like one piece of your high sensitivity, intuitiveness, creativity? Like what do you love most about it? I know we've talked a lot
Mm.
about challenges, so I always like to come back to
What
that.
I love most about it, and I understand there's a whole lot of highly sensitive people who are not here yet, but I believe any highly sensitive person can get here, is
Mm,
once you understand what it is, you don't even have to know how to work with it. If you just really can understand what it is, the world can open up and you realize you can see so many different layers of reality that other people cannot see. You can see
yeah,
so many energy patterns and so many dynamics at play that other people cannot see. And it is really that piece of, oh, I have thin boundaries. I'm not crazy. I am not codependent. I am not dysfunctional. I am not too fragile. I'm not too weak. I
yeah,
have thin boundaries. So I can feel the energy in a room, in a group, in a relationship. Once you understand that, you can go into a workplace and you can see, oh, there's some weird dysfunction going on here between the manager and their team.
oh yeah,
He's sort of like the critical dad, and they're seeking his approval, and that's not working. And some of them are getting frustrated and isolating, and other ones are trying to play the teacher's pet role. You can see all of these different chess pieces moving around, and you can
yes.
realize that other people don't see that. Other people will come in and say, well, I don't know why this office isn't working. I don't know why no one is getting any work done. You can
Mm,
kind of come in and be the oracle or the seer and say, oh, it's
yeah.
so obvious. Can't you see? There's self-sabotage going on here. There's a whole other,
Mm,
dynamic going on here. And it can really help you very quickly avoid those situations. Like you can come into a group and I know a lot of highly sensitive women, they still don't understand. They're like, I go to work every day and I just feel bad. I come
yeah.
home and I'm tired and I'm grumpy. I feel
Nobody
bad.
understands me. Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
totally.
not you. It's the energy of the group. The
Yeah,
group feels bad.
yeah. Oh,
You're just seeing it and feeling it, but that it's not you. It's the group. And once you can see that, you can quickly say, oh, I don't need to be in this situation, in this
mm,
environment. And you
yeah,
can very quickly get out of it and into better things. And
yeah.
then you can build this life where you're like, I feel good all the time. I'm very unconventional and I'm a little bit hermit like, but I feel good all the time. And it's amazing.
There you go. That's me. um, um, yeah, well, it's funny because although I don't work in a corporate environment, if my husband loves music, I do too, but we often will go to musical events, lots of people. And I have to kind of prepare my energy for that to be in all the excitement. But what I end up doing is watching the people in the audience and kind of figuring out, oh, are they having a fight? Are they having a good time? Like, oh, I see that dynamic with their kids or whatever. And I can build a whole story in my head about what's going on because I'm picking up on their energy and watching their movements and it's funny. Yeah. So and I do
I
that with the
frequently will be
people.
at a cafe, working on something, and two people are having a date across from me. And so much of that, I want to stop them and say, you two are not compatible at all. She's not really listening. He's not really interested. Let's just call it off right now. It's been 10
Oh,
minutes and I can tell this is not going to go anywhere.
really, don't keep fighting it. Yeah, that's funny. I love that. Love that. Well, if there are listeners out there who have been wanting to write either a memoir or whatever it is that want more support in that area, how do people find you and the work that you do?
Go to my website, laurensapala.com, and sign up for my newsletter. I
Mm.
send out frequent newsletters. Right now, I'm doing a series where my readers have sent me questions. So almost every day, I answer a sort of Dear Abby type question in my newsletter for sensitive people,
Oh,
which has been going
nice.
really well. People are saying, oh, this is incredibly helpful. I thought I was the only one that struggled with this. You're not. You
Yeah.
can always send me a question, I'll answer it in my newsletter. I do new classes really just about every week. I'm doing a class right now called Getting Past Feeling Not Good Enough. I'm going to be
Mm.
teaching an intuitive memoir class later this month. I'll be teaching more classes on energy, intuition, intuitive people, all sorts of things. So there's always something going on. And then the silent writing program, that runs every month, and that's Sunday, Monday, Thursday. There's no attendance taken. You can come any of the days you can make it. All the sessions are open to you if you sign up at the beginning of the month, and that happens every month. And then I have a lot of books out as well. My books are on Amazon, they're on my website. So there's lots of stuff to choose from. I've got my fingers in a lot of different pies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it sounds like it really lights you up just watching your face talk about it, that it sounds like it's really something that you love. Yeah.
I do.
Nice.
I don't want to say a labor of love because most of the time it just feels like fun. It's hard work, but it's
Mm,
just fun.
nice. I love that. Well, Lauren, I really, really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know I found you through an article you wrote for the highly sensitive refuge, maybe, I think,
Mm-hmm.
about writing, journaling, I think. But yeah, but super fun to actually connect in, here face to face with you. And I appreciate you being a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Lauren Sapala. She really knows her stuff. But what I found intriguing was the silent writing group where you just write in community without needing to talk or share or even have anybody looking over your shoulder. It's interesting. I shared that insight with a friend who is just starting to understand a high sensitivity, and she shared that it made so much sense to her that how irritated or upset or frustrated she would get when somebody was standing behind her looking over her shoulder, that was part of being highly sensitive, that we felt the energy so strongly of somebody behind us, but also there are parts of us that interpret that as, looking over your shoulder or judging or criticizing. But yeah, so very interesting that, to find a writing group that is supportive, that is really respectful of your needs sounds like a really important thing for highly sensitive women who want to write and want to write in community. Well, speaking of community, the membership, as I mentioned at the beginning, for the membership, the Circle of Sacred Sensitivity membership is open for registration. It's a wonderful space with lots of great resources and places to connect. So if you're considering needing a community of highly sensitive women, this is it. This is your space. And I will be there to welcome you in. So I hope you'll consider joining us. Find out more at elizabethcush.com. Have a great week. Have a great couple of weeks. And I will see you back here on the podcast next time.